This episode of the PC Perspective Podcast is brought to you by Casper, an online retailer of premium mattresses for a fraction of the price, because everyone deserves a great night's sleep. Get $50 off any mattress purchase by visiting casper.com/PCPER and enter code PCPER. Hey everybody, welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 386, being recorded on February 10th, 2016. I'm Ryan Schrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malentano.
Welcome to the show. Josh, is the 386 your favorite processor?
You know, my first real processor was an NEC 8088 knockoff. I think it was called the V10. That was okay, but my 386X was able to play Space Word Ho and a couple other games really nicely. So that was a big upgrade for
I don't
me.
think I ever actually had an Intel 386. I had either a Cyrix or an AMD. And I'm pretty sure it was Cyrix. I'm pretty sure I had Cyrix 386 parts.
Played
This was like when I worked at the... Well, no, it would have been before I actually worked at that PC store, but...
You'd need a 386 to be able to do the Wing Commander install within an hour.
It's true.
I remember that.
As long as you remember to switch the
The
disks
bottleneck was the
quickly.
processor for the install?
It did a bunch of decompressing stuff when you ran the installer. Like it just took forever.
It sounds like a hell of a compression algorithms for the time. So welcome to the show, everybody. We record the show on Wednesdays. If you listen to this after the fact, if you listen to this in a recorded video or audio, we record the show on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific at pcper.com/live. That's where all of our live streams happen, as the name would imply. And if you want to come hang out, we've got a chat room. We talk back. We don't really, I guess, talk back. We talk with you guys. We do pre-show banter, post-show banter. So if you want to come hang out and see what all that's about, you can go to pcper.com/live. If you need a little gentle reminder, we do have a PCPer Live mailing list. This old school email mailing list here, guys. If you go to pcper.com/subscribe, you get this little page here that asks for your name and your email. And it signs you up for our mailing list, where we will send you a notification, usually like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before we actually do a live stream. And if we're doing some special event, whether it be a racing stream or we have some people in studio to do some informative live stream discussions, we usually send that out a day or a couple days in advance so you can plan accordingly. Call in, work sick, whatever it is you need to do to make sure you're there on time. Our next reminder is for our Patreon. If you are new to the show or maybe you just need a little gentle reminder, we are running a Patreon campaign. That's at patreon.com/PCPer. The idea here is to get people who are fans, people who see value in the content that we do, which for some of us is a stretch. I get it. But if you go to patreon.com/PCPer and you want to contribute, it's a monthly recurring, donation essentially of $1 or $3 or $5 or $10 or $20 or $50 or $1,000, whatever you want to do. It's really all up to you. And you can read there about why we want to do it, how we want to maintain independence in technical media. We have ideas for new shows we want to do that are going to take more time, take more editing, and so we want to be able to beef that type of stuff up and kind of improve on the things that we're already doing. We're not going to charge for the podcast. There's some little perks here, like we post the post-show stuff to YouTube now, which is we've had some people comment on that they really like. So it's like a little private video that if you don't get to watch the live stream, but you want to see all the stuff we banter about for sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 25 minutes after the show, you can get that. I think that's anybody who is a Patreon contributor for $3 or more will get that. And just so people understand, I had this revelation this morning, like some of the odd sometimes recurring costs about like the quote I had for web development today.
Oh, yeah.
You mean the highway robbery you had for...
Like, I love these guys. They did the current design. They've helped me maintain things, but like, we're almost talking six figures for to design the website, redo everything, recode everything, rewrite everything in Drupal. And so we're not going to do that. Obviously, we're going to pursue other routes to update the infrastructure that we want to do. But that is the type of thing that people don't really... If you write a WordPress blog that kind of is very standardized and cheap and easy, like you don't have a lot of those costs. So I'm not saying I want a donation of $100,000 to doing the website. If you have it, I mean, sure, fine. I'll put your name on the website.
Pocket change just rolling around.
Up top, I will do PC Perspective powered by Biohazard right at the top.
Powered
for
by.
the lifetime.
I'll
of the
make
site.
it Biohazard's PC Perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Biohazard's PCPER.com. We'll do all that. If you actually want to, if you want to do that, that's fine. But if not, if you want to do $5 a month, we would appreciate that as well. We have some upcoming events in February. Well, no, in March at least, including this one. Jeremy, you wrote this post up. What is going on here on March 5th?
Well, the Fragging Frogs are bringing you another VLAN. We're now at an even dozen of these great things, which if you've never participated before, get your arse signed up. And if you have, you know just how much fun it really, truly is. The boys, Lenny and them, put in a lot of effort into this, reaching out to various people to sponsor this. There are prizes, but as much as fun as it is to, win a prize or two, the real fun is hanging out with this crew who are all awesome and playing the games. And it doesn't matter where you're from. We've got crazy Norwegians and Swedes that kick off at 2 o'clock in the morning their time and don't log off for about 24 hours straight. Just show up. Aussies will show up early and leave early, or show up late and hang around. But it will go on for quite a while. So it'll be March 5th, starting at 10 in the morning, Eastern Time, and it ends when eventually we just get so tired we can't kill anymore.
Now, interesting, we'll talk about, we're actually going to have another event the very next day as well. We'll talk about that at the end of the show, but it will be a busy weekend for PC Perspective with the VLAN. The VLANs are fun, so imagine everybody gets into a TeamSpeak server. There's a bunch of different rooms for each of games that are being played. It's a whole lot of fun. And if you're somebody who's like, you play a lot of PC games, but you don't have a group that you want to play with on a regular basis, this is a fantastic way to get introduced to people. Or you can just go right into the forums now at PCPER.com and go into the Fragging Frogs, the gaming forum, and talk there. A great group of people there. So March 5th, Saturday, mark your calendars for that. And also mark your calendars for March 6th, but just put question marks by it for now. Just know that you will have that day fully reserved as well. So let's get into...
You will be scarred for life. You will never forget it.
That's true. Absolutely the case. Allyn is working on all kinds of ideas to make sure that's true.
Yep.
So let's talk about some content here. We'll run through some stuff pretty quick. We posted a review of the Logitech G810. I'm going to lean over to the side over here because I actually have one sitting next to us because we just took it off the table. So this is a keyboard, guys.
Look at the back.
Have you seen it? Yeah, actually, I actually do like the back of the keyboard. I'm trying to see how much it actually
you
comes
don't get to
through.
see. Like, they actually put a design back there.
Yeah.
It looks kind of cool.
You don't think there's any purpose to this, do you, other than
It might actually be reinforced. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, making it stronger or lighter or cheaper or something.
Kind of.
It's kind of heavy, right? And that's actually a plus in my book.
Yeah.
So the keyboard on my desk is the G910. It's the big Logitech keyboard that has all the G keys on it. It's got like the wrist rest. It's a very gamer-centric gamer design to it. They released the G410 sometime in the fall of last year, which was a 10 keyless version of that variant of it. But it also was lighter. It had like a plastic backplate instead of a metal backplate internally. So It sounded very different. It felt very different. I wasn't a huge fan of it. This is the 810. It's much, much closer to the 910 in terms of its design and build quality. Well, it looks different in terms of it looks like a normal professional ass keyboard, right?
Is that a technical term?
Yeah, that's what I call it, right? So I don't have to show it on here. It's kind of, we've got better pictures on the website, obviously. But you can see what the keyboard looks like there, and it looks like, as I say in the story and as they kind of pitch it, it's something that looks just as good sitting in front of like an office PC as it does a gaming PC. Sure. It's more muted in its design, but it has the same Omron switches, Romer G switches on there. So they're kind of, what would be best compare this to, like a Cherry switch? Ken, do you have any idea? I think it's like probably close to like a brown. Would be my guess.
I don't know. I've never.
But it's a very different. It's a very different feel than I think other ones have had.
They don't bottom out like with a sharp sound. First of all,
these do not. The G410 does.
Yeah.
And that's something that's interesting. Like, so if you look at these keycaps, they're curved. The G910, which I have a picture of. No, I don't. Actually, that's the 410 there on the top, and that's the 810 below it. These have like kind of your standard concave keycaps, whereas the 910 by default ships with these faceted keycaps. Which some people apparently don't like how they feel when you're typing. I love how they feel when you're typing. So that's actually what I'm using when I write stories and stuff here on the site.
It's like a reverse bevel.
Yeah, kind of. It's essentially, I mean, it's still concave, but it's just sharp edge.
It's just with sharp edge. Yeah.
So this doesn't have that by default. And I think more people will like that because of it. It gets rid of some of the, the wrist rest, some of the flashiness, some of the angles that make gaming keyboards look like gaming keyboards. They also got rid of, you'll notice on the side here, there's no G keys, which were, it's, their brand for the like programmable macro keys on it. Yeah. And the G910 actually has the ability to like let you record a macro in hardware without having to go through their software. There's like a record button. You hit your thing and save it to whatever you want. They make up for that on this by in software. Once you install the Logitech gaming software, you can actually reprogram the entirety of the function row, the F keys. Right?
Okay.
And you can have it profile based too. So meaning when I start this game, load this profile.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So, like when you start up EVE Online, it'll reprogram all the F keys or something if you wanted it to. I'm just saying.
Last time I played that game was a test display here.
When have you ever actually needed F12? That's true. Let's be honest.
Yeah. And so, you don't have to program all of them. Obviously, you want to keep F4 so you can close out of that game real quick or whatever. Do whatever you want to do. So that's kind of nice. It has media functionality. It's got pause, play, stop, next. The volume wheel has a nice weight and feel to it. The buttons on it are like, what would you even call those types of buttons that sound like this? They sound like, that's the media key buttons. They're fine. They work fine, but it's just a very stark contrast compared to the rest of the keyboard. So there's that on there. What else is it? The bottom of it looks fine. It's got 5 big rubber feet on it as well. That if you lay it flat, it's not going to move around. And then it has 2 different height adjustments for the keyboard stand. There's a picture, a graphic of the Romer G keys, and it is RGB as well. Of course, I guess I didn't even really say the whole name of this. Right? This is the Orion Spectrum RGB mechanical keyboard. So the RGB obviously means that you can change the key colors to whatever you want in software, just the way you did with the G910 or the G410. You can sync it with your mouse if you have a Logitech mouse, sync it with your headset, all that type of stuff. You can do different patterns, and you can set these key colors based on profiles as well. So, certain games you want to play it with just WASD enabled, right, and everything else black, so when you look down, you know exactly what you're looking for, those types of things. And then here it shows some of the reprogramming of the function keys. It is not a cheap keyboard. It's $159. But in terms of, like, mechanical keyboards, that's not really super high.
No, it's not.
Is it? It's kind of like average. In there, right? Now, the only problem I have with the pricing is that the G910 is, like, on sale currently for, like, $139. So the higher end keyboard with more functionality, again, it is very different styling, so it's going to appeal to a different person is my guess. It's actually less expensive than the 810. So either I expect the 810 to come down as well, the 910 will go back up after whatever sale they're running on it currently. I like this keyboard a whole lot. I don't like it enough to replace my 910, but I'll probably make this keyboard the keyboard on the gaming test rig from now on, just as a secondary machine. It is currently, if you buy this keyboard, it comes with a copy of Tom Clancy's The Division as well.
That's the first time I've seen a keyboard game pack-in.
Yeah. So it's a keyboard pack-in game. That's a solid $60 game. It's not out yet. The last beta just ended. I think it comes out like this month. Is it February?
I think it's March.
Might be March. Not everybody, but most people I've seen on reviews of the beta have all been very positive on it. I didn't get a chance to play it, but it's apparently supposed to be like Destiny, but good.
No.
Right, and also on the PC. So check that out check out the review if you want some more thoughts on that. And then like I say in the article, keyboards, much like mice, are very much preference based. Like things. It's hard to have a like a very agnostic review of it. Like either you like how it feels or you don't. So
Yeah.
check that out. G810 on that. Let's talk with Josh real quick about ARM using. There's a lot of letters in here, Josh. ARM leverages UMC's latest 28 HPCU for budget SOCs.
Well, we're just in time for my stream to start breaking up, so prepare yourself.
I'm ready.
Okay. So ARM asked me last week to have a little talk with him, and I thought, well, is this going to be kind of not a big deal? Is it going to be some little piece of news that most people won't care about? And at first, they sent me a little thing that says ARM utilizes UMC 28 nanometer, and I thought, great, because it's not like we haven't had 28 nanometer from multiple vendors for about 4.5, 5 years, and what's the big deal here? Well, it turns out it's a little bit more of a big deal than we thought. First of all, this is a second generation 28 nanometer part from UMC, and it's significantly better in terms of switching performance and power consumption than their first generation, and it's very similar to TSMC's third generation of 28 nanometer that I think AMD has been, well, not AMD, but others have been utilizing for lower power, higher performance 28 nanometer parts. With the times between process nodes becoming much, much longer and greater, it just is logical that some of these older processors are going to find new legs. They're going to optimize for them. They're going to have better support in EDA software so that their place and route is going to be more efficient. And there are other things that ARM has done when addressing UMC's second generation 28 nanometer, HK metal gate, and they have different strain and stress components that they had just put into this one, and so it is a significant jump up for these. Now, ARM has offered the A53 and the A7 processors on this process, and they have backed it up with their POP program. I don't know if you guys remember POP, but
I do.
Essentially, it is a way for ARM to help its customers cut time to market by essentially having a very strong program internally to ARM, where you could pick and choose the components that you want in. They do a lot of the basic layout, and you can come out with a pretty decent part just during that time, and it cuts down development time 5 to 6 months, which when you're dealing with low power SOCs that are going to be powering cell phones, that's a lot of time. And so I think they came out and said it's like 200 milliwatts per core for 1.7 to 2.0 gigahertz, and that's just right off the bat after kind of they throw all the pieces into the bowl, and they stir that up, and ARM spits this back out, this basic design in RTL. And then they can spend several months in hardening that design to more adequately hit their bins and yields and speeds and voltages for these products for whatever they're going to do. And when you combine all these things together, and plus what I thought was kind of interesting is some of the design rules that they used for 14 and 16 nanometer FinFET, they were able to port those back to 28 nanometers. So even though they're not utilizing 3D structures in FinFET, and they don't have, like fully depleted channels and all those goodies, the actual layout and some of the other layout characteristics that do not only just die size and spacing, but also signaling speed and power have been optimized on 20 nanometers. So when you've got these lower end parts, the A53 and the A7, when you apply those to this HPCU process from UMC, you're getting a couple advantages here. One, I mean, it's going to be an expensive SoC. Bless you. I think.
Yes.
It's going to be a very inexpensive SoC because the one thing about 28, everybody's got it. And there's a lot of line space out there. And they want to sell it, and they're going to be competitive because they want to keep those fabs busy and wafers rolling through. So it's very inexpensive. They're going to get better power, speed characteristics. They're going to get fast design times because if these decide to utilize the POP instead of just licensing the designs and doing all the work in-house, which is pretty hard, and you've got to have some serious engineering talent to do that. But in the end, the consumer really takes advantage of it because they're going to have budget and mid-range phones based on these SoCs that are very inexpensive, have longer battery life, have pretty good performance, and for a price point that is really affordable for pretty much everybody. So it's a bigger deal than what you would initially expect, because when going into it and I read it and it's like ARM is going to 28 nanometer with UMC, I thought, wow, it's groundbreaking. But once they actually started talking about some of the advantages and some of the things that I hadn't really thought about, it's a good product and a good fit. I had asked them also, so why would you go with 28 nanometer rather than, say, GlobalFoundries 22 nanometer FDX, which is their FDSOI, a fully depleted SOI product, which is still planar, so it's less expensive than doing FinFET. Well, the problem there is only one guy right now has that GlobalFoundries. We don't know how many wafer starts a week they're doing through there. It's still a new process. They're still working through it. So, price per good chip is going to be significantly higher, even though the advantages of the planar FDSOI is because of the design. There's, I think it's called back bias, that essentially the standby energy power is a lot lower and the leak a lot lower, but they don't sacrifice any of the transistor switching speed in 22 FDX. So you can have these really high speed parts, but they can go into these low power states, and there's just not a whole lot of leakage there. So for like wearables and things that will last all day in low power modes, this is a fantastic process. But again, we don't know how availability is. We haven't heard much about prices. And you've got to adjust design rules and wait for the EDA software to adjust to this new process node from GlobalFoundries. So when you start looking at those things, it makes a lot more sense to go back to 28 nanometer. And plus, these are small SoCs anyway. So you're going to get tons of them in a wafer. And another thing is if you were to take these designs down to 14 nanometer, you've got to make these massive multi-core 8 and 16 core A7s to get enough usable die space to have all the pads necessary to fit that die to a substrate, and then make that usable. It just is, these CPU designs are just so tiny that it's not appropriate for the 14 and 16 nanometer. So it's kind of interesting. It's going to turn out to be better mid-range and budget phones that will match the higher end of yet and do it for a really nice price.
Cool.
Was that just like verbal diarrhea coming out of my mouth?
I happen to have one of my computers here crashing on me while at the end of that discussion, so I don't know if I'll be able to bring up web pages anymore. Hey,
that's awesome.
Computer. Hey, computer. So what did you say the timeline for like seeing some of these actual products? That's my only kind of drawback to talking with ARM about these types of things is they're usually talking so far into the future that I feel like even for our understanding it's important, but even like talking about it to the public is almost, I don't know, questionably valuable.
HPCU is available now. The UMC process technology, it's available in full production now. It's their second generation. They always stay behind TSMC, but it's kind of cheaper to do that. So TSMC and other guys, they do a lot of the heavy lifting and the cutting edge. And a year later, UMC comes out with process technology that's, let's just say offhand, 30% cheaper. And it offers the same performance. Sure, it's later into market, but they didn't have to pony up nearly as much money in R&D to get some of those fruits of the labor, because they all use the same tool guys that power the machines in the lines. And so, TSMC does the research, does the budget, the tool guys work with them, and they come out with their products. They integrate that in TSMC's fabs, and then the tool guys are like, so anybody else out there want to buy some stuff? UMC's coming on back. Sure. What kind of deal can you give me? And that's where they make their money. They're not cutting edge, but they have good enough. And they catch the slack, and typically they don't have to go through as many yield and bin issues as cutting edge stuff does. But yeah, it's as far as I know, 28 HPCU is available now, and you could see products in between 9 and 12 months from now utilizing this, depending on if they use POP and if they do a whole lot of hardening on their end, and who knows. But yeah, it's maybe 9 months from now at minimum, we'll see a new generation of very inexpensive smartphones being powered by this.
All right, up next, let's quickly go over Lee posted a review of the EVGA 750 watt GQ power supply, which I imagine is very well dressed.
Yeah,
right.
probably.
It knows how to pose.
What do you think? Does that look like?
Ooh.
Yeah. Very svelte. The 750 GQ, great quality, great value. I don't know if that's really a tagline for the GQ magazine. I don't think that really matches up that well. But this is like, guys, if you didn't know it, EVGA is pretty serious about making power supplies. Like, they make a lot of power supplies, and I'll make a comment on it at the end here. But this shows you, this right here is a list of all of the 700 to 750 watt power supplies that EVGA currently sells on the market. So look at that list here. The Supernova G2, Supernova P2, the 750 GQ, the G1, the B2, the next 750B, and the 700B bronze.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of
And
power
I don't think
supply.
any of these are over 18 months old.
Yeah, I don't feel like any of these are legacy devices in any real capacity. But nevertheless, this one is an 80 plus gold model, rated at what do we got here? 62.4 amps on the 12 volt line. So pretty modest in the grand scheme of the power supplies that we look at here. 750 watt, kind of on the low side, honestly, for power supplies that people are actually wanting to send out for review. They like to send out more of the flagship.
They do make that line all the way up to 1,000 watts.
Yeah, that's true. To 1600?
EVGA makes the 1600.
Not in that line.
Not
that line
in,
is
yeah,
like
the
2,000.
GQ series.
Yeah.
So this is not a fully modular. It's partially modular. You can see, let's look at the next page where you can see a picture of the back here.
So, but everything except for the power connectors?
Yeah, so everything except your
that.
ATX and the 8-pin power is on there. I like that. I'm a little disappointed in EVGA for calling them VGA 1, 2, 3, and 4, even though their name is EVGA.
What do you want them to
I
call
don't know,
it?
GPU?
Yeah, but then you could think any GPU could plug in, and not just an EVGA GPU.
Not just
EVGA one.
PCIe.
If they,
Yeah.
PCIe would be better than VGA as well. VG, like this, that printing on there makes it feel like whoever actually made the power supply for them, that's what they put on there by default, and they like didn't change it or something like
Well,
that.
we get a whole bunch of this silk screening that says EVGA. If you just take the E off it,
That's right.
done.
Also, it says Perif 1, and it's PERIF,
Yeah.
which is not how peripheral is
No.
spelled. But just so you know, it's on there. But still, so this is, like I said, this is one of the lower cost units, or one of the lower cost lines, I guess. So you're not going to get the really long cable designs or infrastructures there. I still like looking at the inside of power supplies. Look at the size of that cap. That's pretty
We like
big.
big caps. We cannot lie.
Yeah.
Look at that coil.
Yeah, that's...
That's
Show
a
me
nice
the wrapping
coil.
on that coil, if you know what I'm saying.
I would, but no.
Things done.
So, good. I mean, if you're in the market, I think 750 watts is a good power supply for somebody who is buying like one high-end GPU and is maybe possibly considering 2 down the road.
Yeah.
You could probably get away with the 650 as well, but 750 is kind of like a good safe spot for overclocking, multi-GPU, whatever you want to do. This particular unit is as low as $79.99 on Newegg, actually.
Wow.
as of February. So it's actually fairly low cost. It did get a gold award here that you can see from Lee. It is the strength, like a lot of strengths on this. Excellent assortment of modular cables, 80 plus gold certified, 92% efficiency, clean DC outputs, very good voltage regulation, plus minus 2% on the 3 primary outputs. The weakness is like there are a lot of 750 watt power supplies to choose from.
Yep.
And I'd imagine pretty much all of them will function perfectly fine for the use cases that you will have for your power supplies. So, but if you're interested in that, in a low cost 750 watt power supply, check that out. That's the EVGA 750 watt 750 GQ power supply. That name should be one easy enough to remember. Sebastian also posted a review this week, I think actually just today, of the Phanteks Enthoo EVOLV ITX enclosure. And this looks pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. So the EVOLV ATX, like there's a big version of this case. This is the mini ITX variant of it. Very similar design, obviously. When we asked which one to send us, we said, well, obviously red and black is popular with motherboard designs and stuff. So let's go with that. So this is what the inside of that case looks like.
That's a good looking
That's
case.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm a
Not
fan of...
reminiscent of a tool case at all.
That would go well with like a that would go well with like a Rampage
Yeah.
motherboard.
Well, it's ITX. So
Yeah, it's mini ITX.
So is there a Rampage equivalent that's in?
I don't think. Do they make RG ITX?
They do make an ROG ITX. I forget what the
I thought there was
moniker
one
for
that,
it is.
that Maury looked at recently.
And it would look really good in here.
Yeah.
I even like the back plates are red where the GPUs go with
It's
the
a nice
GPU
touch.
installation. Right. Now the
Yeah.
problem is you remove both of those to install any modern graphics card, but it's still nice to see them nonetheless. And you get a pretty sizable window on the front of it as well. The under air filter is rear removable. It's a short little stubby guy, but it's going to get the job done. I think that looks great. I love the red painted inside on this
Oh
design.
man, and you put some white LEDs in there instead of using like red LEDs, and you make it pop.
Yeah, I think you could do that. I think you can make this look really, really nice with that paint job in there. And there's still a lot of functionality in here. You still have all of your cable routing grounds. You've got support for water cooling in multiple areas. You can see how much space you have up at the top. And then there's a huge 200 millimeter intake fan at the front of the case as well, which is nice. Front panel is removable. Obviously, a filter, snap out pot. Look how big that fan is on the front of that case. That's
there was a fan that size on the top of the old like Antec cases.
yeah.
It blew out
Yes.
the top of the back.
It's probably louder
Those
than
are,
how
no,
these are.
they're like super quiet.
Oh, really?
'cause they-
Couldn't
yeah,
remember.
Spin them super slowly.
yeah, because
Yeah,
even at the
that's
high
true.
speed, it moved just a lot of air and didn't have to spin that quickly.
There's the
Please
back.
use water cooling, and you may find the case creeps around overnight at heavy load.
Yeah,
This is the back of it. So again, you still get that red coloring on it. It's covered by a panel that doesn't have a window, so it's not really that big of a deal. But there you go. So there's your mini ITX board, not a red and black design necessarily. Well, like it's got some red and black on it. This is the EVGA case in that instance. I like this little door here to enable a full-length GPU.
huh.
That's so you install it and then you close that and you get the branding and kind of logo on it. You can see where the hard drive mounts. You can see through it into that bay as well.
Luckily, he had a WD red handy.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. You can make everything match inside this. It comes with those zip ties kind of pre-installed, or not zip ties, those Velcro straps pre-installed, which are actually really nice. You don't have to worry about finding the zip ties or, I forgot to. This happens to me all the time. I will zip tie cables on the back of a case and then forget one of the power cables or need to move it, and then
gotta cut the
either
zip
cut
tie.
it
Yep.
and get another one, and it's a pain in the butt. So having these Velcro pieces. Look at that lovely hand model in that picture there. You like that?
Ooh.
Yeah. You like that? Yep. Toolless hard drive mounting, all that good stuff. This is one of my favorite parts about this. You see this? This is a slide out mount for
The fans?
the like water cooling at the top. Like if you have a self-contained water cooler for your CPU, right? This slides out on rails.
Okay.
You mount it to that, so you don't have to like go through the top of the case.
And then you just
don't-
slide the whole thing
You just
in.
slide the whole thing
Like
in.
with the motherboard, even maybe.
It depends on how long the tubes are on it for that.
Well, what I mean is you can like put the motherboard in set it in and slide that in at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah. And the full-size version of this has that case as well, which is why I think I'm using the large version of this case on the Twit VR system build that we're working on. So he went through the tests on this. You can see what the performance is like. It's a good case, and the best part, look at that completed build, right? So you can see how like the Phanteks logo and the door kind of covers up the back of the GPU.
That's pretty tight.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat looking for a total system build on that machine. Faux show.
And the cost is insane.
Yeah, what is it?
$65.
$65.
Well, 70 right.
Yeah, 65. Yeah. I think it was at Newegg, 69 at Amazon. That's real cheap.
It's insane.
Yeah, that's real cheap. Yep, there it is.
Good fit and finish.
Only one left. You better order it now.
Oh,
There's more on the way.
Okay, all right, thank you. I appreciate that. So that is the Enthoo Phanteks, Phanteks, just so everybody knows who's listening on the audio version. Enthoo, Enthoo,
It's a weird spelling.
EVOLV, EVOLV,
It's a weird spelling.
ITX.
They got one thing right.
That at least makes sense.
But the one thing they got right is just an acronym, right? It's like it's not a word. So
EYETEE.
yeah, exactly. All right, now we're going to take a quick break to thank this week's podcast sponsor. This would be our friends at Casper. We are excited to welcome them back to the show. It's been a while. Maybe a couple of months or so before we got to talk about sleeping, which is one of my favorite things I miss doing. And so I'm very excited about mattresses now. Casper is an online retailer of premium mattresses at a fraction of the cost. They are revolutionizing the mattress industry by cutting the cost of dealing with resellers, going to stores, all that garbage, showrooms, passing that savings directly to the consumer. The benefits of Casper is that it is a mattress that is obsessively engineered at a fair price. It uses two technologies, latex and memory foam, for better nights and brighter days. Now, here, we haven't really had bright days. We've had mostly overcast days, but that's not really the mattress's fault, as far as I can tell, right? It's just crappy weather. A lot of snow.
Do those mattresses get, like, cold?
Not,
do you notice that it's cold when you lay in it?
Because they're dense. Right, so like, there's not like a bunch of space in them with coils and springs and stuff.
Well, sure, but I mean, like the ones that are nothing but foam tend to be cold.
No.
Like, so yours has like latex layer on top. Like, I have a memory foam mattress, but it's just solid memory foam.
Yeah.
And
It's
cold.
like temperature-wise, I haven't had any issues, and it's also that was one of the worries about getting one because we'd never had a mattress like this before, is that it would get too hot during the summer, right? And that definitely hasn't been the case either. So my wife and I used one of these mattresses. We went through the process of the unboxing. It is very comfortable. It is something that takes, if you've only been on a normal like spring mattress, it will feel very odd the first couple times you sleep on it. And that is why Casper is gracious enough to give you 100 days to use this mattress for free. If you don't like it, you can send it back, right? Like that's a pretty good return policy, and it's better than sleeping or trying to pretend to sleep on a mattress in a showroom for 30 seconds at a time and actually figuring out if it's a worthwhile investment for you. You buy it online, it's risk-free. Like I said, 100-day period. You don't have to lie down in the showroom to do it. And apparently, statistically, lying on a bed in a showroom has no correlation to whether or not it's the right bed for you. I don't know how to back that up statistically.
It's never worked
if you
successfully
get caught,
for me.
you don't get to spend the night.
I feel like they should send me the statistics so that I can tell people about that next month about it. So all Casper mattresses are made in the USA, which is obviously a big positive as well. So get a Casper mattress.
How do you return the mattress?
They come and pick it up.
Oh.
Right? They send a courier out to you, so you don't have to stuff it back in the box that it came in, which is
back in the bag.
Right? You don't have to like do the vacuum suck thing to get it back into the bag that it was in, because you actually cut the bag open, so that would be a very difficult process. And they don't ask you to roll it and duct tape it or anything.
All right.
So they send a courier to come take it from you, right? And then I think what they do is they either recycle it or donate it, because they're not gonna resell a mattress that's been used.
Sure.
So, you can get a Casper mattress for $500 for a twin, $950 for a king size, and if you compare that to industry averages, that is an amazing price point. You can save an additional $50 as one of our audience members by going to casper.com/PCPER and use the promo code PCPER. So that's casper.com/PCPER, and then use promo code PCPER, and we thank Casper for their support of this amazing PC Perspective podcast that you guys listen to every week, most every week.
So what if you have a latex allergy?
It's artificial latex. It's not natural latex.
Yeah.
Don't lick the mattress.
Well, I mean, it's, whatever you got to do, right? You know what I mean? So we thank them for their support. Let's move on to news items of the week. ASRock taking away your overclocks.
Really?
If you weren't supposed to have them.
Yeah. We didn't talk about this last week, did we?
No.
Did you check the notes? Okay.
We talked about
This must have been posted on
We talked
Thursday.
about the opposite of it like a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so Jeremy, what happened here? This was a reversion of the cool feature that they added to boards recently?
Yeah, they take with the one hand, and right after they gave it with the first one.
Smacketh with the other.
So this was a lovely little feature, and hey, you still have the option to not upgrade. Gigabyte still has not backed up on theirs as far as I know. But yeah, unfortunately, if you're looking at that little upgrade for your ASRock motherboard, you're not going to be able to overclock your non-K B clock anymore.
So
On the one hand,
Yeah, go ahead.
that sucks because
Yeah.
it's always nice to get that extra little bit out of your money. On the other hand, it's probably a good idea because there's probably a damn good reason Intel didn't make that a K processor.
Yes. So what I find interesting about this is I wonder. So Intel kind of must have decided to turn a blind eye for a small portion of time once vendors started to release a BIOS that allows people to overclock their non-K series parts.
But didn't other vendors follow suit?
They did. There are others that did it. And as of now, this is the only company that has gone back.
Right.
Now, you don't have to update your firmware.
That's true.
You don't have to update your UEFI.
Hopefully you can find the older version.
Hopefully
some
you
people-
saved it to a thumb drive.
Well,
or
just some
something
people
like
might
that.
Oh,
have
somebody's
ordered-
hosting it.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure
Yeah, I'm
someone's,
sure if you look
you
on
know.
forums, people will have these BIOSes available.
Because people would do system builds based around the capability of overclocking. Like you buy that part because you can overclock it now.
And then they torch the motherboard and they try and do an RMA on it and wonder, why it is that the RMA gets declined because, well, you got this BIOS.
Yeah, I don't
that
think your
unlocks-
warranty requires you to be on the latest firmware, though, right?
But along those lines, motherboard torches itself for whatever reason. You RMA it, it comes back with a firmware,
And now
that
you
you
can't
can't
get the new
overclock.
one. Yeah,
the
that's
parts
true.
that you were previously
That's
overclocking.
true.
That would suck.
And the like I said, you can still get the old BIOS for it. The risk really is, are they going to put some new features or some security or some patch or some stability fix in another release down the road that then won't have it? And now you have to start making that trade-off about those two capabilities, and that sucks. And I would assume if ASRock is doing this, that we would see the same kind of backpedaling from the other vendors as well, from Gigabyte. Did MSI do it, I think, too?
EVGA did it.
EVGA did it?
I mean, with something like this, though, there's enough of an underground already that edits BIOSes and makes custom ones that they could
that
just
sounds
figure
like a
out what part of
horrible
it.
idea.
Well, but now there's an easy thing to make a diff off of, right? The only change is microcode and that feature change, so people can figure out where the
assume
microcode chunk is in the
so.
BIOS. So they just figure out where they patched their tool to make it so that their BIOS, menus, so you couldn't overclock, and they could just put that right back in, like future BIOSes.
Viewers, don't go flashing random BIOSes from the internet to your motherboard.
Yeah, that's...
Never goes
It's like
badly.
a thing that a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Oh, it's also a thing that could totally brick your motherboard.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good.
So...
Or do worse things.
Yeah.
Or that, yeah. I mean, keep in mind that, a BIOS with bad intentions can do a lot of things to your...
sure.
It basically tells the processor how to process,
Yeah.
right, at the beginning of its startup, right? So it could be and also send all of your money to China.
that has been in BIOSes. Like there has been malware in BIOSes.
I think that's how you do it. I think you just write that in and also send all of your money to me, and I think the processor figures it out, right, and then sends all the money to that person. I think that's all the complicated it has to be.
Okay. It automatically signs you up for a Patreon.
I guess I have another edit in the podcast to make.
It's interesting because when I ran K7M.com and AthlonB.com, one of my primary functions was hosting BIOS files.
We even used to have a guy who would do hacked BIOSes.
Yeah,
of the good kind.
Yes,
not the bad kind.
Right, not the Chinese or North Korean kind. Yeah,
you fool. You fool.
You know why we hosted those BIOS files? Because the downloads from ASUS.com and Epox.com were so slow and unreliable that the T1 connection at the business I worked at was a faster way for people to download.
It's only been until like the past 6 or 7 years that they've been decent.
Yeah,
downloads.
that's true. That's true. Other news story. We actually talked about this last week. The Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider performance that I posted. I actually had an update where on February 5th, they patched the game with a totally new revision that added a bunch of new capabilities in terms of graphical changes. There's actually different options. Where'd it go? Different options in the menu. They added specular reflection quality to enhance resolution and reduce aliasing of specular reflections at some performance costs. They improved HBAO plus quality. They improved SLI performance. They fixed SLI glitches. They did performance optimizations for situations where Razer Chroma features are enabled. And they also, this one was interesting in the bottom, they enabled a warning message for users turning textures to very high or enabling SSAA to indicate high-end hardware is required. Basically comes up and says, hey, you need a lot of memory for this to work. So maybe you want to be careful about enabling. And they did not do that when we were running these benchmarks for the first time. Right. So interesting little changes there. And there's actually additional options in the options menu, both before you start up the game and after you start up the game. So basically all the results we did beforehand were kind of like, as it turns out, they're not useless, but questionable at that point, right? So we had to test with a new version of the patch, and we also used the 16.1.1 driver from AMD as opposed to just the 16.1.
Yep.
So there was a hotfix to the hotfix on the AMD driver side. So we wanted to include that. We had some readers that were concerned about maybe that improving performance, and then we added in some multi-GPU. I wanted to do 2 Fury X's versus 2 980 Ti's, but I didn't have 2 Fury X's, so I just stepped back 1 to the Nano. The next one we had 2 of, essentially, is what we did. So 2 R9 Nanos versus 2 980 Ti's. They're not directly comparable GPU to GPU, but we wanted to see what the scaling was like in that case. So one thing to note here, the black line is the R9 Nano tested in the original release of Rise of the Tomb Raider, and the orange line is the same game with the new revision of the game, the new version of the game, and the new driver. And you can see there are noticeably less stutters in the game now with this. So there are some fixes. There have been improvements, whether it be from the Square Enix. Is that who makes Tomb Raider?
Yes.
Yes. Developers or the driver or combination thereof. So the AMD did get some bumps there, even though it didn't change their frame rate really at all. It improved kind of the stutteriness of the game, both at 2560 and 4K. Now we look at multi-GPU, and it is SLI outperforms Crossfire, and we'll just say it like that, right? Both this is with the newest versions of the driver, the newest versions of the game. And you can see the what we got here. The black line is a single Radeon card. The orange line is Crossfire. And I'd say the first half plus of the benchmark run, it's pretty smooth, pretty consistent. You get a great scaling rate. But the second half of it, where it's a little bit more intense of a section of the game, you get some spikes, and the scaling rate kind of decreases a little bit there. Meanwhile, the pink line to green line is more consistent. There's a little bit less scaling, but it is quite a bit less variant in terms of its frame times. At 4K, you can see the orange line there of Crossfire is a little bit even more variant than it was before. Whereas the green line of the 980 Ti's and SLI is much more consistent than the Crossfire results. So the takeaway from this update is basically For single GPU, the Radeon Fury Nano, Fury X kind of stutter hitching thing seems to be fixed, or mostly fixed, or a lot fixed compared to the original release, which is a good. The downside for them is that in terms of multi-GPU, it still looks like the SLI configuration is better, which is interesting because I'm pretty sure that before the February 5th update, SLI had like significant amounts of issues, and AMD was the only one that even really scaled at all. But as I came into it, like that day to test it, all these updates were released, and so that's just the way. It's just the way it works sometimes. So if you're interested in seeing those, just go to that Rise of the Tomb Raider updated performance article, and then go to the last page, and you can see the changes there. And this is why keeping track of games and benchmarks and drivers and game versions is so complex, because it changes like. I turned on Steam to test Crossfire. I had no idea, that there was a patch that day that updated everything and kind of invalidated a lot of old testing and results. So,
Well, maybe we'll make that easier here soon.
hopefully. Okay, let's talk about this Unreal editing for Unreal Engine 4 in VR.
That was cool stuff, man.
Yeah, Jeremy, did you see this? What did you think about how this all went?
It's awesome. Now you can program just like Tony Stark and Iron Man. You're just sitting there waving your hands around, bring this in, take this away. It just works exactly like in the movies. Or in this case, not so much, but...
Really, it looks like he's dancing. He's a dancer. My name's Mike Fricker,
does.
and I'm a dancer.
So now
that's a
when
weird
you're
dance
goofing
he's
off
doing.
at work, you're not compiling. You're
Dancing.
You're redoing assets.
I see.
But you watch, and the laser, grab it, twist it, pull it, bop it, put it down. They're
using an HTC Vive with
Yeah.
the two Vive controllers to
Clone
edit
it,
edit
it.
the game, right? And what's important here is like when they like select an item, right? All of the controls that you're seeing are the controls that are normally there in the editor, but you just have a different way of interfacing with them. And like he's showing there in the video, the kind of the palettes of colors and then objects and shaders and stuff that you can apply. That is the same thing that would exist in the editor in 2D as well. But you just like select them, apply them. You're be able to move things around in a totally different way. So you're editing the game in 3-dimensional space in a VR headset, right? Now there's still some complication here. Like how does he move to the next section, right? To develop and work. But
absolutely, there's limitations. But at the same time, when you're doing this on a 2D screen, and you're trying to design a level, you then spend a lot of time moving around. Did I get this exactly in the spot where I wanted it to be? With the Vive or with the Oculus, if you do it through that way, you're looking directly at the scene that, in 2D is going to be represented as people are moving around, or as people pick up more VR goggles are going to be looking at directly. So it sort of takes away that, okay, I've done my creativity. Did I get it right? To, okay, that's perfect, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, and the review sort of happens towards the end, where it's like, well, okay, I could tweak this and that and the other thing. But intuitively for artistic design, it makes, like, ridiculous sense, and I'm kind of jealous, because I remember screwing around with the original Unreal Engine, and that was nowhere near that much fun. Okay, I'm going to pull light source here. Okay, run to the level. I put it behind the wall, didn't I?
do you guys think this is going to be, like, really tiring? Do you think, like...
Looks like it.
they're like, it's like standing desk, but, like, all day, and then also moving your arms around.
It's like random flailing desk.
Well, wait, you can use this while you're sitting, right?
You can, but the whole point is... I mean, you could, but the point is to be able to, like, turn around...
Yeah.
Do things, move
So you
things
sit
around.
on a bar stool.
You can sit on a bar
Yeah,
stool.
that
and
doesn't
sit
sound like
around.
he'll get sick.
That's true. You can
Devs
do
will
that.
find a way.
They'll do something.
It's pretty cool. They're going to show this at GDC in March, so I think that's pretty cool. It reminds me a lot of Ken. What was the name of that art demo I did? Pixel something
Yeah, I
from Google.
remember.
There was a Vive demo from Google called Pixel something. What the hell was it?
It's some weird name.
Yeah, but it was like basically like, hey, be an artist and paint and use these colors and palettes and different brushes and designs, and you're painting in 3D space. It was really, really cool as somebody who has no artistic capability at all. It was still
That
really,
reminds
really
me of the Disney artists that were doing that.
Yes, they
with
had a
Light Pen.
contest for that, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So that is Unreal editing and Unreal 4. Oh, quick shout out to, we had 2 new Patreon pledges since we've been on so far.
Sweet.
Ron upped his pledge from $3 to $5. Ron Wagner, thanks for that. And then this guy, new pledge, Tom Swaggerty. I just wanted to say he has probably the coolest last name that I've heard in a while.
I wonder if he has
Swaggerty?
svelte.
No, he's just got swag.
Okay.
Right, that's it. But anyway, thank you guys for that. I just saw those emails come in. I thought it was funny. Also wanted to point it out. Other news: we have we have another keyboard. This one's from ASUS. If you want to see the
This is not
Oh,
a
God, no, don't
professional
show
ass
it.
keyboard.
Don't show
This
it.
is the exact opposite of the keyboard we showed earlier.
So it's not professional ass.
This
No, it's just
is
there's
the exact.
ass in there
That
somewhere.
is weird looking.
So it is a gamer keyboard, as you might say.
Okay.
Right. This is the ROG Horus GK2000 mechanical keyboard, Cherry MX red switches under ABS keycaps. Hey, I know what that is now.
You know what ABS was before?
Well, now I know like what the properties of that plastic are in particular now. Standard 104 keyboard layout, 5 macro keys to the left, wheels for volume and backlight on the right. I do like the adjustable backlight. Like there's an analog wheel for backlight brightness as opposed to like 3 steps or on off or something like that. That's kind of a nice touch.
Yeah.
It features a 1000 hertz polling rate on a keyboard.
Okay.
Well, that seems largely unnecessary.
I don't know how fast you type, but I don't type 1,000 times a second.
I mean, so your key presses
You
will
don't
be
type
within
6,000 words, 60,000 words a second.
Is that what that
A
is?
minute,
They'll be within
60,000
the-
words a minute.
within
yeah.
within a millisecond.
Well,
Okay.
60,000 characters a minute, I guess.
It has some other cool features. It has 2 USB 2.0 port hub, 3.5 millimeter audio pass through.
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like the idea of having things on your desk that are like make the cable runs shorter to your face, your head, your arms, whatever it is you're attaching to.
Okay.
Right. It has very angular styling, large detachable palm rest. It offers adjustable red lighting to further enhance its appearance. So it's not RGB, it's red lighting, kind of in tune with the ROG branding, obviously. And it goes with their mice, goes with their mouse pad design over there as well. No idea on pricing or availability
Too
quite
much.
yet, but it'll be expensive. It'll be
Yeah.
expensive, but
Probably more expensive than it should be for a
It's
single
angled.
for a single color
Angled
backlight.
for her pleasure.
there are a lot of angles. Is this look like a place? The thing on the right up here, like probably for like putting your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, like it's looking like looks
Does it
like
kind
that.
of look like
rubber
a
pad.
one-eared owl looking at you?
No, that's the Strix line.
I was gonna say that's their Strix brand. That would be
It's a slightly modified one.
that.
No, this is something with a big monobrow.
Yeah,
It looks like a fighter jet.
it does.
It's Anthony
It
Davis.
looks like it does look like
Yeah,
some of their
there you go.
laptops. Like some of their gaming
Yes,
laptops.
no, it fits in the ROG design scheme for
Yeah.
sure. But it is, and I don't. I think a lot of people will like the way this looks. But I just thought it was ironic, being the keyboard we had talked about before. The G810 is kind of the exact opposite of what this is aiming for, right? Like visually and design style wise. But we'll figure out more about it in terms of release and all that relatively soon. Horus, Horus.
It's probably a silent H.
Horus?
Horus?
You think so? Isn't Horus like
Wait,
brand that
wasn't
Gigabyte
Horus
is using
like
for their gaming laptops?
it's an Egyptian? It's the owl god in
Is
Egypt.
it really? See, again, that should be a Strix keyboard. Then they should use the Cherry MX Silence.
Yeah, it's a stinking owl god.
Yeah.
All right.
I told you, it looks like an owl with one ear.
But does the owl god of Horus only have one ear?
Depends on how he's depicted
Well,
on
he's missing a
stone
lot
tablets.
of bits. We'll put it that way.
Whatever. Regardless. So it's an owl keyboard. There you go. Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. Looks like we're on to the another case launch here. This is Phanteks again. This is not a review. This is a news post. This is the Eclipse series P400 P400S.
Ooh, look at that underglow.
It's got some underbody glow there. This is for the LEDs on your car, Alan. You know to match it.
I don't do that.
You don't have underbody
No.
LED lights?
No.
Why not?
For your ground effects?
The 90s called. They want your
Do you
car back.
do you have ground effects? Do you have a fart can?
No.
No. All right. So you can
He
see
does
here.
have truck nuts.
This is yeah.
Yeah, I totally rocking the truck
on the
nuts.
back of his Volkswagen.
Yeah.
You can see the exploded view here of the Eclipse P400S.
Looks like it actually exploded.
It does actually, yes. It actually does. There's a side window available option, edit style from ambient RGB lighting on both models, available in black, white, gray. Body panels are metal. Doesn't
Okay.
specify which, but it is metal. So there's that.
I haven't seen many of them that are plastic.
Yeah, I guess maybe not recently. This is a $69 case. In black gray, $79 if you want the silent version, which is the non-windowed with like the sound dampening material.
So you have to pay more for no window.
It looks
Well,
like.
you have to pay
No,
more
wait,
for
wait, wait. I'm
sound
sorry.
dampening.
The P400S pricing identical for silent window and silent closed panel. So it's
Okay.
P400 or P400S. So the silent, the
Same
S
price.
is for silent, and they're both they would be $79 for the silent model. It's an interesting looking case. I don't know. We don't have like internal shots. For some reason, I like the green in it.
Yeah.
Who made the Razer Edition case recently? Was that NZXT?
Yeah.
And for something about that green glow, if it were muted, if it's not super overkill, in your face like the blue LEDs tend to be
Yeah.
on things, I think I could.
Green
like
shouldn't
it.
do that to you.
Yeah. Because blue LEDs, F all of them. We looked at this at CES. The MSI GT72S Tobii. Tobii. You weren't there. This was the MSI thing. This is a laptop that has eye tracking technology built into it.
Oh, all right.
It worked better than I expected. I don't know if it was perfect, right? And I only spent 10 minutes with it. But the idea is it's using infrared light to look at your pupils, essentially,
Okay.
right? And it knows where you're looking to a very high level of accuracy.
Okay.
What was the game I was playing? It was Assassin's
Syndicate.
Creed Syndicate, and one of the gameplay mechanics of that game is that you fire a grappling hook, right? And if you, as you stand on one side of a street on the top of a building and look at another building, there may be 15 different places you could fire that grappling hook and attach it.
And usually you have to turn.
And usually you would the way you did it before is it's a third person game, not a first person game.
Oh, okay.
So you're looking behind the character and you kind of move a little bit, and like as you move around, different ones kind of get highlighted.
Right. So you have to like pan.
You move the whole character and you
Yeah.
pan the whole screen. With the eye tracking stuff implementation, it actually worked really well. The character stays still and I'm looking at the screen, and as I'm looking, the button prompt changes and moves
So it's
very,
highlighting.
very quickly, like very fast response to it. It was really impressive, actually.
So is it emulating just like a mouse cursor?
It is
in that
not.
case?
It has to be implemented into the game.
Oh.
Right, and that's really the question mark behind this type of technology is will this company be able to get into enough games and game developers and try to convince them to implement support for something like this? Because it was pretty cool. It's
Sounds real cool.
it was like what's that like? It's like a more advanced version of Track IR, right?
Yeah.
Like you could imagine if you looked down at if you're playing a racing game and you looked down towards the speedometer or something like that. Right?
Changes the depth of.
It changes depth of field.
That would be cool.
It actually did that in that game. It didn't change depth of field. It changed
lighting.
like exposure, right? So you would go to a section where there was a really dark alley and then a bright sunlight out here. And if you looked at the bright sunlight, you could not, like your peripheral, you could not see what was in the alley. But if you looked at the alley, you would come into focus and then everything else would be blown out, right? It was a really cool effect. It was one demo, right? It had other cool feature in that game, like if you're playing it, on the screen, and you turned away for like 5 seconds, it would pause the game. And as soon as you turn your head back and look at it, it unpaused the game.
That's cool.
It was neat. I just don't know how many other games are going to implement this. Jeremy, you were going to say something?
Well, I mean, if you thought the developer looked weird dancing around with his light sticks, they're also talking about this working inside Windows for scrolling, for selecting windows. So, I mean, if you're just like this at your screen,
Is that on it?
you're going to look a little weird. And Lord help you if you got pink eye, because they're saying select all and delete are also in there. So next thing you know, you just erased everything.
Yeah, that'd be not great. So here's the video I did at CES. I'm going to try to fast forward here to... So you can see here, like, see where the LB button prompt is moving?
Yeah.
That is me looking at the screen.
Huh.
Right? That's... Because you can see the character is not moving, the screen is not moving on it.
You're just looking at the different stuff.
Yeah, it was really cool. And then here's the part where I think this is here, where you can see it, right? So I'm looking at the dark area, and then I will go back and look at the light area, and you can see how like the screen darkens and brightens on each side as I'm changing it. And it does it really quick. Like if I look back and forth really fast,
Yeah.
it's doing it fairly fast too. So it was impressive. And I think Ken reminded me that they talked about this being, this might come with the Division as well. So I think the Division might, yeah, actually there it is. Available immediately. Tobii will be bundled. This MSI GT72S G Tobii will be bundled with Tom Clancy's The Division and supports a variety of gaming titles, including Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Assassin's Creed Rogue, Arma 3, Elite Dangerous, and more. Elite Dangerous would be a good one
Okay.
to try that
So
out.
that's a
in.
much more impressive
and
list.
Arma are already...
Right.
So Elite and Arma already use Track IR.
Yeah.
So it's just
I could see the implementation
simple for 'em.
easy, yeah.
Yeah.
Easier, I guess. That's pretty cool. I have already asked them for one of these as soon as I got that press release. I was like, that's great, cool, when are you going to send me one? So hopefully that'll be pretty soon. You know, they also, this company, they told me that they also sell a add-on device for your monitor. Like where your webcam would sit on top of your monitor. It has the same IR lights and cameras in it, so that it would, you know, if you don't want to play this on your laptop, and support that eye tracking functionality on the Division or Elite Dangerous, you can do that with your monitor as well, just with a USB camera IR thing, which is actually pretty cool as well. All right, our last news bit of the week here. Something I didn't know. I don't know how people are going to respond to this. I'm very curious. EVGA released. They announced it at CES, but now they have officially released the GTX 980 Ti VR Edition graphics card.
Which does what?
And what do
special?
you think is different about a GTX 980 Ti VR Edition?
Does it have 2 GPUs?
I mean,
No.
Oh.
Does it feature
does
a
have
low
two fans.
That would be
latency
the-
interconnect?
Is it
in
just
between
like
the output?
Is it just like just labeled different or something?
Nope.
Like, so it just looks different.
Here's
on
what
the
it
outside?
is. Here's what we got.
It's got a front bay panel.
It's got a front bay panel, right? See this? It's got an HDMI port and 2 USB 3.0 ports. All right, and you know what that HDMI port connects to? It connects to
My TV?
The VR headset thing.
well, yes, that's its goal, but internally,
Yeah.
it connects to. Oh, come on, Jacob. Where's your thing in the video here?
Well, it's got
The
a front-
video card has an HDMI port
There it is.
on the back inside the case.
Oh.
So you just comes with a cable that you attach from the back of the video card. Oh, that's not good.
No, that's not good.
That's that big one right there. Plug it into the color, the one that's lit up, the green thing. Yeah.
Thought we already talked about power plug recognition.
Yeah, that's not great. We don't want that to die. Come on, you do that.
I'm good, man.
You can
did it
continue,
spark?
Ryan.
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure things weren't on fire. So there it is right there. You can see the HDMI port on the back of the video card, right? And it allows you to run the cable internally. It's cleaner, right? And the idea of having a front panel HDMI connector for VR is actually a really good idea.
Sure.
You're
Right.
not losing an extra 10 inches of cable.
Right, you gain length of the cable, which allows you to stand up or move away from the PC or whatever. It means if
how
you
does it,
unplug it from the machine, to like take it to a friend's house or just put it away, you don't have to like reach around the back or whatever.
How do the USBs hook up to the
Front panel connector.
Okay, so potentially you might need a motherboard with like a pair of those now. Because
Yes.
you're
Correct.
sucking up one of those.
Or a USB 3 expansion card, because a lot of those have front panel connectors.
Okay,
Oh, do they now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
they didn't used to.
Yeah.
And therein lies the problem.
What's that?
What?
Well, last time I checked, Oculus wanted 3 USB 3s and a USB 2.
Right. So in theory, what you would have is two USB 3.0 connectors on your case front panel.
Yeah.
And then two from this front panel, this 5 1/4 inch bay header. Also, another problem is a lot of cases that I like don't have 5 1/4 inch bays.
That too.
Right. So if you have a case, or you want to buy a case that doesn't have a 5 1/4 inch bay, that part of it, the whole card is useless at that point.
Did you ever get an answer about the audio input for that?
Not officially, but
My guess is the USB 2.0.
Yeah.
it's USB 2.0, or it is USB. Like I'm 99.99% sure.
I think that's the USB 2.0 plug, and I think the third USB 3.0 is the camera.
I expect it's the whatchamacallit that sits on your desk.
So it's not
You could
your
run that
tether.
behind it.
Yes, it's you only need two for the tether, I think.
Is that really a 5 1/4 panel and not a 3.5 inch thing with a 5 1/4?
Yeah, it should really be both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
it's a
if
5
a case
1/4.
doesn't have a 5 1/4 inch bay,
Some of them have
it's
3.5.
not going to have a 3.5 inch bay.
Just saying.
Yeah, but if my case has both, I'd want to use the one that's the appropriate
Yes,
size.
yes. I mean, if you look at this picture, it is.
Well, get out the hacksaw.
It's the 3.5 with
Okay.
like an adapter.
with an adapter.
No, I don't think
Alright.
it is. I don't think you can remove that.
Well,
That
I think
looks
it
like
does.
one
it
unit
wouldn't
that
have
you
that
can't
seam
remove.
around.
Oh, really?
You know,
But
if you get a
there's a little
hacksaw,
thing that says cut here.
Yeah.
everything is removable.
It's probably removable.
I would
Let's
hope,
see.
but they don't mention it.
See, look at that.
Yeah, that I would say that looks like it's removable. If not, it can be.
Jacob,
Or they
get
want-
that
no, they
in
want-
your video.
They went out of their way to
Jacob's
have
wearing his Moto 360 in that video there,
of
Jacob. Good
course.
job.
What a cool guy.
Yeah, yeah. So, where's the picture of it there?
Yeah, no, when I first saw this
Looks
PR,
like
I was like, what in the hell are you talking about?
Yeah,
I
I
took a look at
agree.
it, and I'm, not bad. And they also did a decent job on the pricing. You're only looking at $700. So an extra, 80 if you found one on sale, but I think MRSRP is still around $650.
Okay,
So it's only an
there
extra
is-
50
there is
bucks.
there is a premium for
And
it.
what ports do you get out of the back
Out of the
this card?
You mean the primary connectors?
Yeah.
You
DVI,
get,
2 DisplayPort, and 1 HDMI. I think.
yeah.
Yeah, so you don't lose anything.
Okay.
Yeah, they're releasing it in both the ACX 2.0 cooler design, like the EVGA custom cooler design, as well as the standard reference design. So the standard reference design will now have an HDMI port out the
At
back as
the
well.
same recommended selling price.
Yeah.
So we
the
know which
better
one you
cooler.
should go for.
The markup is a bit bad on these.
Yeah, I mean,
Engineering that back plug,
Oh,
though,
I
that
understand,
can't be free.
but like,
Yeah.
is it really worth $70 of convenience?
well, let's see how much they actually come out for sale, because the MSRP difference is what, 50?
I thought they were on
Yeah.
sale today.
Were they?
I think this is the
I mean,
the for sale launch.
you can get
Yeah.
you can get a HDMI extension, like 3-foot extension thing for probably like
yeah,
$10.
but I don't know if that will be good. Like, I don't know if you'll want to do that.
You have to
with
like gaff tape
VR.
it to the top of your case.
Yeah, you want to introduce just the tiniest bit of latency into
Yeah.
that VR headset?
I'm not worried about latency, but
No,
You
speed
buy-
of light latency over 3 feet is
You
pretty
buy
good.
not
Yeah, probably.
decent quality HDMI extension cable. and-
yeah. I think it's like so. This is where we're at. Like, so we're doing I'm still trying to prepare these VR build guides, right? And it's like, okay, for the high end system, I'm probably gonna use a 980 Ti. Would I recommend this 980 Ti just because of that convenience feature?
You'd have to make sure the motherboard had two
headers.
onboard USB
Like
3
the
headers.
Z170 Deluxe that we have over there has two
Yeah,
headers.
that gigabyte
Right.
board with the triple M.2.
Yeah, I think
also
a
has
lot of the higher end boards now have
Yeah.
two USB.
So
3
you-
headers,
but
'cause
it's just something
free
you have
from
to
the Intel
consider.
chipset. Yeah,
Something you
yeah.
have to consider,
And you got to
right?
consider the case. Does it
Yeah.
have a 5 1/4 inch bay, or
or maybe a 3.5.
maybe
inch.
3.5 if that's separated?
Yeah.
Jacob, if you're listening, reply. Let me know. Can we just take that apart if we need to on that?
The ACX 2.0 VR edition is $700 on Newegg right now. So it's not. It's like $30 more expensive, I think,
Yeah.
or 20.
You said, yeah, okay, all right.
It's not bad.
So that's not bad.
Don't the this version have like triple DisplayPort out the back now?
No.
No.
Don't think
They
so.
always that's AMD does all DisplayPort. NVIDIA is 2 DisplayPort. No, I think you're right.
'Cause you
They
can
do
do,
a
like,
DVI and 3 DP and 1 HDMI.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought you could do.
Yeah. So they had to take away one of the DP to do the HDMI out the
So
other
there's
side.
something
is
worth
my
knowing,
guess.
right?
Yeah.
That there is a difference in the.
If you're
Oh,
going-
I'm sorry. The version without this is $620 right now, so it's like a
$70.
yeah, $70, $80 difference.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's
on
actually
special.
$5.99 after rebate right now, but
Right.
yeah.
So if you don't
We'll
want to
see where
do
it
that,
settles.
you can invest in the PCPER Patreon, and if you're a $20 investor, we will send you a PCPER branded VR HDMI extender.
No, it won't. No.
All right, fine.
I don't know what happened. Something happened to your audio there for a second, Jeremy. It was like all hollow sounding. You still there, Jeremy?
Apparently, the screw let go, so it was pointing at a place you don't want to hear from.
Okay. Now that sounds a lot better. All right, let's get into. Oh wait, before we get into our hardware stuff, our picks of the week, a quick preview for people who don't watch the after show. We talked about the PCPER VLAN on March 5th. That's a Saturday.
Yes.
The very next day, on March 6th, Sunday, March 6th, we're going to host a 12-hour live stream here from the PC Perspective offices and other various locations. We're going to do a 12-hour live stream as a I don't know why type of thing. You know, we'll promote the Patreon, of course. We'll promote the stories we're doing and the types of content, the VR build guides, whatever. But the idea is we're going to start it at like noon and go to midnight Eastern time. And we'll be here. Allyn and Ken will be here. Obviously, we're going to bring Sebastian down. Josh and Jeremy and everybody else will be at their respective offices. We bring everybody in every once in a while for some segments. We do Q&As. Alan's going to teach people how to solder. We're going to make Sebastian build a tabletop PC on the secondary set. We'll do some gaming. We'll do some racing streams with Josh where I beat him at Dirt Rally and he gets very sad about it.
By driving backwards?
No, like legitimately.
He's been practicing.
Yeah.
Okay.
The goal is to get some guests in, right? So either have them come out to the studio or have them call in on Skype. Let's say, hey, does Tap want to come out and talk to us about some stuff? Do we want to get some people from AMD, some people from Intel, some other media people out there to come and talk and just talk about random stuff for a 12-hour period? Not any one person, I guess I should say.
Welding with the power supply?
Welding with the power
That
supply.
sounds
I don't
dangerous.
think I want to do that inside.
I don't think we want to do that indoors.
I don't think I want to do that
I
indoors.
don't think I have HDMI cables long enough to do that outside.
Right.
Stream went down because of the EMP that we caused.
We found an
Do
installer.
you know how dangerous that is to actually open up a power supply and touch the wrong thing?
We wouldn't open it to weld
if
with
it's
We just weld with the
well, you're
12
not
volt
doing
rail.
it right then.
No, you just weld with the 12 volt rail, man.
Oh,
you know,
fine.
Josh and Jeremy's safety segment. With kids, do not lick this.
We found an installer for the Risk tabletop PC game, like the touchscreen based thing. Maybe we play a game of Risk. Get Lenovo to send us one of those tabletop. What do they call them now?
The yogas.
The yogas.
It'll be us and Sebastian.
Right. Yeah.
No, get one of the Microsoft Surface Touches, like those big 60-inch suckers.
Yeah. I'm sure. I'll just
come
call
on,
them up.
get it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cheap.
So we're going to do some stuff like that, and we'll have prizes to give away throughout. We'll have competitions and things, and we'll have ways for you guys to come in and join us. We'll play some Unreal Tournament. We'll do whatever, So plan on that weekend being a busy weekend for us and for you guys if you want to participate in both the VLAN as well as... I guess we don't want to go with the name quite yet.
Yeah, no.
We have
Workshopping.
we have a working name. We have a working title. We don't know if we're going to be fixated on that. So
Just tune in and see who cracks first, because
that's what it's going to be.
It's going to be
Yeah.
one of us. I mean,
you're going to see how many pizzas will show up having been ordered throughout the day. Jimmy John's, what time do they show up? Things like that.
we can order pizza from two places and bet on who gets here first.
Yeah. Tell them both. Whoever shows up first gets $20 tip. Right? Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Just, I could see the whiteboard with the pool going on and everything. Like the guy knocks, and we're like all of us.
They show up at the same time, right? And they
We
fight
do have
Betty
one that's
and-
significantly closer than others.
That's
That might
true.
not
We've
be
secretly
fair.
attached RFID tags to these two
Yeah.
pizza cars. Find out which route they take.
All right, so plan on that. We'll have more details in the coming weeks as we get some of all that stuff finalized. Now let's get on to the picks of the week. I'm taking the easy way out here, and I am going to Well, now it's shipping in 1 to 2 months. Earlier today, it was not the case. The Logitech G810 Orion Spectrum keyboard for $159 on Amazon. I think it's actually in stock on Newegg for the exact same price. And like I said, for that limited time, you do get Tom Clancy's The Division. It says now through March 31st when you buy the Logitech G810 RGB mechanical keyboard. I like this a lot. The typing and feel is very similar to the G910. The G910 is a little bit quieter because of the plastic used on the keycaps. But if you're looking for something a little bit more reserved, a little bit more subtle than the G910, then the G810 is a fantastic way to go there. So, according on Amazon, it at least sold through whatever their initial shipment was because it was in stock earlier today, I guess. So keep that in mind. What do we got? Who's next? Jeremy?
There's no easy way out.
There never is.
There's no shortcut home. Sing it with me.
I won't. Thanks.
You're not in tune. There ain't no easy way out. All right, so I spend too much time listening to grown adults make excuses as to why their cell phone that they've owned for 3.5 hours now has cracks on it.
Yeah.
And how I should approve them buying a new one at full price. So the Otterbox Defender, they hate it. Well, it's not. This is an S6.
So lovely that they hate
it's not tiny and thin anymore. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to, but I could drop it on concrete and it isn't going to give a shit.
Yeah.
So please, I mean, it's not waterproof, but it's water resistant at this point. So the people who drop them in pools have that split second to get them out again or to stare at it and go, oh, in which case I'm like, and yeah, oh, I've got a BlackBerry Q10 I'm not using anymore, and that's yours for the next 2 years. And nothing says sexy to a techie like a big-ass belt clip. Come on, go for the Defender.
Now I'm sad.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Can you rotate it so it's in portrait mode or landscape mode? No.
The old BlackBerry ones could. This one
those were
won't.
great. I remember that.
Or it will, but it just won't work after.
I remember
that.
just sitting there like twisting it because it makes the clicking sound on your belt. Yeah. Anyway, so there's that.
And if you're like me and you're taking pictures of networking equipment in the most ridiculously inconvenient places ever, and you drop it on something live, it is also slightly electrically resistant. So also a good thing.
Fair enough. Josh, what do you got?
Josh.
And to think that 15 years ago, that guy was making cases in garage. I don't think you realize how much Otterbox is actually worth right now.
Yeah.
I'm just proud that he's done it for so long.
The only disappointment I have in that brand is that they sell it on cases that are really crappy cases now.
Yeah.
Like that. Like
the Defender's decent. The rest of them aren't.
But it used to just used to be able to just say, "Oh, get an Otterbox," right? Like to your nephew,
now there's
your
like
whatever.
Now there's like
but now do you
Otterbox
want
bumper,
the Metro,
right?
The lifestyle, or
I had like the 4th gen iPod Otterbox waterproof case, and it was awesome.
It was awful, but it was awesome, right?
No, it was
like,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my secret is for when I want to use my phone and it's in a very obviously dangerous water spot. Like this won't help if you drop it on concrete.
bag.
Breast milk bag.
Breast milk bag.
Those
are the right size.
It is the perfect size.
Those are the right
now, it wouldn't
size.
fit your phone.
Nope.
But for my phone, fits perfectly.
It's the perfect size.
So if I'm going to the hot tub, I take a breast milk bag out of the pantry and I put it in there.
You gotta make sure the lines are on the back.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
So there's the writing stuff is on the other side. Yeah. And I did that with the baby monitor as well. The baby monitor fits in one of those bags perfectly. I do worry about like overheating over some longer.
How are
period
you
of time.
sealing the bag? Like how?
It's a double Ziploc.
Oh, there you have the fancy breast milk bag.
Well, you don't want that stuff
Ziploc.
to spill. Oh, that's valuable.
Alan just puts it in his vacuum sealer and seals up the bag.
I do. I have a vacuum.
And then you got to cut it
I have
open.
like one of those chamber vacuum sealers for the sous vide stuff. Yeah, totally do that.
Man. Anyway, sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
Quite all right. If you got 99 cents in a Kindle, here's a fun little book for you to read. It's 300 and some odd pages, but again, 99 cents if you like a little, rogue AI, apocalyptic type stuff. It's a fun little read. And for people who still like me.
Kindle.
Kindle,
We
99
didn't
cents.
used to do book reviews or recommendations, eh?
Yeah, well, why not?
Pretty cool. Control Alt Revolt.
That's a good title.
It is a good title.
Are the robots
So it's kind of not exactly Terminator, but sort of Terminator, and Ready Player One.
And Deus, or no, Ex Machina-ish.
Ready Player One's good stuff.
Sorry. Cool. And last, Alan.
All right, so if you use Dropbox, which we all do, and you want to be able to have directories that are not in your Dropbox folder syncing over Dropbox across multiple machines.
Right.
There is a way to do
essentially, you have a Dropbox folder, but you don't want to move everything into that folder.
Yeah, or you have like a game, like a save game folder for a game,
That it
which
can't
is
be
not
moved.
which is not necessarily going to be in your Dropbox directory structure, right?
Right.
Might be in some random folder on your drive. Well, you could do this manually with like symbolic links, and then you move the folder into your Dropbox structure, and you have to point to it from the other place on your system. But then it's kind of a pain because you have to remember on your other systems to do that same thing, right? So there's a tool that makes the links for you. It's called Dropboxifier. So it will do the task of...
It's a fantastic name, by the way.
Yeah. It's like it just Dropboxifies a folder, basically.
I was being sarcastic. I don't think
Well,
it's a great
but it works. It works. So basically, you name the thing that you're going to be relocating. You point it at the directory. You also point it at the directory where, like, it's going to be the root for all of these things that you're, relocating to Dropbox, right? But the cool thing is that it's a standalone app. Doesn't need to be installed, and so you can stick the app in that folder where you're going to have all those, in that root of where you're going to have all your stuff stored. And it makes like an XML that gets saved right alongside it, like as you're adding these things to it. So the idea is, say you start on one system, you go and you figure out save games for various things or whatever folders you want Dropboxified, like linked into Dropbox. And then, like, once you exit that tool, it updates the XML file, which is in your Dropbox. So now you go to your other machine, you just rerun the tool from that same folder on the other machine, right? And it shows up with all of the entries that you've already done on the first machine with, like, exclamation points next to them. Basically like, oh, hey, they're not done on this machine. And then you can do the same things on that machine.
How does it know that you're on a different machine? Is it based on PC name?
It's like PC name, yeah.
Okay.
And you can see, like, in the picture there, like,
I
towards
see
the middle.
that Dave-PC versus RHGWKS001.
So,
Okay.
and so, like, it kind of maintains, what stuff has been reconfigured on which PCs.
Right.
So that it just takes a lot of that, tediousness out of trying to do that, because that's the thing. That's the reason that people wouldn't want to do it. Not only that, but who wants to go to the command line and try to figure out the, symbolic link manual method, right?
Yep.
This just does it. And it's pretty easy to use. It's free. Hasn't been updated for forever, but I don't think it needs to have been because it's just making a symbolic link and an XML.
Yeah.
So,
Unless Windows changes the way it does something at some point. Yeah.
yeah, but it's good on Windows 10 so far. So,
Cool.
yeah.
All right. Dropboxifier.
Yeah.
There you go. Real quick shout out to Anthony, who just did a Patreon contribution of $3.21. 321.
Blast off.
You can actually make it for
Sweet.
any. You can make it for any amount you want. Remember, I think it was 2 weeks ago we had
You
one
get a
for
6-inch HDMI cable.
We had a $6.66 a month Patreon contributor as well. And hey, you know what? Whatever.
$80.08.
Yeah, there you go. $80.08.
It's well worth the joke.
Yeah, don't be a cheapskate. Go
404
80/80.
donation not
80/80.
found.
So thank you guys for joining us on this week's podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. We have, if you go to pcper.com/podcast, you can find the MP3 file downloads. You can find the RSS feeds for the audio version, the RSS feed for the video version, which is relatively new if you want to do that, as well as links to the YouTube embeds as well there. We do record the show, like I said, Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific at pcper.com/live, and you can subscribe to the mailing list there on the right-hand side underneath our schedule on the site. And if you are so inclined, if you have just loved this particular episode of the podcast, you want to go to patreon.com/pcper and become a supporter of not just the podcast, but the entire website and review structure that we do. Read that text there about why we're doing that. that and why we think you should help contribute to PCPER. That would be awesome, and we greatly appreciate everybody who has done that so far. I'm looking.
Biohazard in the chat says you should donate on Patreon. $9.99.
$9.99. That's a pretty good one.
$9.99.
Yeah. Yeah.
How about $4.20? $4.20.
Don't go down.
You could
Don't
do
go-
that too, but
don't go
$9.99
down.
is higher than $4.20.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. If you know what I mean. So thanks, everybody. We will see you next week. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Valentino.
Bye.
Poor Josh.
If you enjoyed this content, consider supporting in-depth technical content by contributing at patreon.com/PCPER.